Hello everyone and welcome to the new episode of the Libra Sun Podcast. My name is Alisa and today I think we're going to have a bit of a different episode, if I'm being completely honest, because I'm not sure about how much advice I could give you today. Obviously, I have a few because otherwise I don't think I would be recording this episode, but I've been in this situation at least 3 times, and the thing that I needed the most at that time was just support and understanding, because it's honestly very, very difficult. And I just remember feeling so bad, and I just remember that none of the advice helped, or none of the advice even had the potential to help, because when you are in that situation, it just feels like the world is falling apart and no one knows what they're talking about, and you just have to deal with it. You know, sometimes there are certain things that you just have to deal with on your own without people kind of getting in and getting in the way also sometimes, or just, I think it's a known thing that when people are going through tough times, it's very hard to follow any type of advice because that's just the way it is and that's just the way we are. So this episode is going to be a mixture of advice and just support and kind of telling you that I'm here and you're not alone. And if you want to reach out and talk to me, because I know that sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger because you can tell them whatever you want. They don't have, a pre-existing kind of opinion about you or opinion on those people that you want to talk about or those situations. So it's easier to just kind of dump it all out and go like that. So if you want to do it, all of the links to my social media, whether it is Instagram or Twitter or anything else, my DMs are open everywhere and I'm there for you and to listen to you. So if you want to do that, feel free to. But this episode is going to be about toxic friends, fake friends, getting out of those relationships, or maybe just getting out of friendships overall, because sometimes getting out of a toxic friendship might feel very nice and refreshing. Other times it might feel horrible and very, very upsetting. And the same thing goes for real friendships. Sometimes we get out of them and we feel fine because that's just how it is at that moment. But other times we get out of real friendships and it's obviously just devastating. So as I said, I'm going to start with a bit of my story. And I've been in 3 toxic relationships, friendships. That's what I mean. This whole podcast, this whole episode is about friendships and platonic relationships. So whenever I say relationship, just that's what I mean. I've been in 3 toxic friendships, and 2 of them I'm really, really glad they're over. But the third one it took a very, very big toll on me, because it felt, I still wanted that relationship. With the first 2 relationships, they were very toxic. These people were just using me and then talking behind my back and then being all nice to my face and reaching out to me when they needed something, and absolutely not caring about me or whatever is going on in my life. And at the time where these relationships ended, and they ended in quite an organic and easy way in terms of those people moved away. And so it wasn't a difficult situation of, maybe breaking a relationship with someone and then having to see them every single day or something like that. These people moved away. And that's where it ended, because they didn't obviously try to keep in contact, and I wasn't going to do that. For me, it was kind of a way out. And also at that point, I don't want to use the word abused, but I hope you understand what I mean by that. I've been so hurt by them that I did not even feel sad that they were leaving, because for me, as I said, it felt like a perfect way out. So in those circumstances, I feel like what you need to know, if you're going through that and maybe you feel guilty or weird for not feeling as sad as you think you should be, is you just got out of a very bad situation, and that's why you're not feeling sad, because deep down you knew that this is bad and that you were just searching for the way out, maybe subconsciously without completely understanding it, but that's what it was. And so you don't have to feel guilty for not feeling upset that this person is no longer in your life because they were horrible to you. And to be completely honest, it's a blessing that they're not in your life anymore. But the third relationship, the third friendship, I felt like I really needed that person still, because everything was going good and everything was so nice at first. And then I feel like this person, the thing is, I'm not even sure that they wanted to hurt me, because in my head, and looking back at their behavior and all of that, I just think that they are just very egotistical. They're very self-serving, and for them, things that they were doing seemed all right. There is this type of people that just don't understand that they're being hurtful, and they don't understand that they are messing with other people and that they're hurting other people and hurting their feelings. They're this type of people that just are not doing it on purpose, but it doesn't mean that it's good, or it doesn't mean that we should forgive them for that, because they are not willing to see it from any other perspective than theirs. They don't think they're doing anything wrong, but even when other people are saying, no, you know what, this is actually hurtful, or this is actually bad, they're not willing to be like, okay, maybe in my head it's not that bad, but people are telling me that this is bad and that I'm hurting them, so I should think about it in a different way and change my behavior. They're not thinking like that. They're thinking in a completely different way, which basically means that they just don't care. Simple as that. And so it just feels like at that moment, it felt like I was giving the most and I was not getting anything back. But at the same time, this person, they were the initiator of the friendship breakup. They were like, I don't want to be friends anymore. And they just distanced themselves from me. And I just could not understand it, because this person was very, very, very valuable to me and I missed them dearly. And on top of that, they were actually in my class. Like, if you don't know how education system, school in Russia works, it's basically along the lines of, if in America you get a class schedule and in each subject you have a group of different people, right? Like you go from subject to subject in a way, from like group to group. In Russia, you have one group and you together go from subject to subject. Like the schedule is scheduled around a group. You know what I mean? Like you basically you have every single class with the same people. That's how it works. So he was in my class. So you can imagine, I went to school and spent at least 6 hours with him in the same room as me. And it went to completely crazy stuff, as he would just not even say hello. Like, you've been close friends with someone for such a long time. You've shared things with each other that you haven't shared with anyone else. You've created a bond, and then one day, all of a sudden, just not even a hello. That was the most bizarre thing to me. But this was also the moment where I realized that this is not the person that is it for me in any kind of way, because I wouldn't want someone, I wouldn't treat someone the way they were treating me. So why would I want to be associated with them? You know what I mean? Like, this is the person that is clearly not sharing my moral ideas and my moral kind of codes and things I believe in. And it's okay if in the friendship you like to play basketball and I like to play volleyball or whatever, just a random comparison that came into my head. It's okay to be different, but you would never be friends with a racist if you're not a racist. Do you know what I mean? You'd never be friends with someone who is just morally on the opposite side from you, because you just wouldn't be able to relate to that person on any sort of level. You'd just be so against their core idea that you just, no, you know what I mean? So this was the breaking point for me, but the break of this friendship was really difficult because I did still care for that person, and I did still feel like it wasn't a toxic friendship. At that moment, I didn't realize it was a toxic friendship. Now I can look back and see that it was, but back then I couldn't see that. So the things that truly helped for me and the advice that I can give you is just understand that they're not the only person who is around you, and they're not the only person who is there for you, and they're not the only person that could have ever been or that will ever be near you. You probably either have other friends, or you have parents, or just someone around you who actually loves and supports you. It's very rare that we are completely alone, and it's in very extreme situations where people don't have anyone at all, and it is most likely that you do have someone around you that you were just blind to because of that toxic person and you spending all your time on them, or because of some other reasons. And you just have to open yourself up to those people, because you will need support. There was someone next to you, whether they were toxic or not, who you always felt like you could lean on, or who you always felt like was there. It's like a chair and someone, ripped one leg out. This chair is not going to be as balanced anymore. It might be able to stand on 3 legs, maybe try and rearrange them in the way, but it's not as balanced. It's not as good. It does not have as good of a support system anymore. And so you have one of those legs ripped out. And what you need is either lean better on some other legs, learn to lean better on yourself as well, or find a 4th leg. And this finding a 4th leg doesn't have to be finding new friends. Finding a 4th leg just means that you need to find someone, some support, and something or someone to lean on. Some people lean on friends, as I said, or parents or whatever. Others lean on activities, which is also fine. I went really into my YouTube channel. Like, I started uploading twice a week, spending days on editing, just went fully into it, because that way I wouldn't have time to think about what I've lost, and that would be an action that just kept me going and didn't let me fall into an abyss of self-loathing or missing that person or anything like that. And that is just very important, to find yourself some support, because you have lost it, and a lot of people I've talked to about this, they just say, oh, just move on, especially if they were toxic, just move on. It's so easy to say, and it's not easy to do at all. This is something that people go to therapy for years to do. And by the way, if you feel like therapy is an option for you, because therapy can be a choice, but it also has to be an option. Some people don't have access to therapy or something like that, so we have to be mindful of that. But if therapy is an option for you and it feels like an option that you can choose and that you can actually take, then I would highly recommend doing it. I went to therapy around that time, and I do feel like it helped me a bit. I didn't finish, or I didn't go long enough because I had to move and there were a lot of stuff. But I feel like if I didn't go and didn't do that amount of therapy that I did, I would have been much, much worse than I am now. So the main thing of me rambling right now was support. Find that support in a way that you feel like you can find. And it might be difficult. It might take a lot of time. It might be horrible, I'm going to be honest, for a bit. But if you have that support, no matter how bad you're feeling, no matter how down you are, there's always going to be someone to pull you back up, or to at least support you and not let you get any lower. And that is very, very important. Also, another thing that is, I guess, would be categorized as advice is think about the positives. Just think about the positives of this breakup, because a lot of the times we like to remember the nice times and think about the good things that happened and just miss all that. And we don't let ourselves focus on the negative. And a lot of the times people say, don't focus on the negative, don't focus on the negative. I say, when you just said goodbye to a person, in this case, actually, whether it was platonic or romantic, focus on the negatives of that person, not on the negatives of the breakup, not on the negatives of your situation that you're in right now. You should never look at those negatives, but look at the negatives of that person. Why do you miss them? Why do you feel like they have to be in your life if they were so bad? Because when you're going to start thinking about all the ways they did you wrong, you're going to be like, you know what? If I don't have them in my life, I think I'm actually going to be fine. If I don't have that negativity, or if I don't have that horrible person who's going to do all of those horrible stuff in my life, I think I'm going to be just fine. And focusing on the negatives in those situations is, for me personally, at least, I understand everyone is different. It can be very different for you. But for me personally, it was very, very beneficial, because suddenly they're not that perfect being that I miss so much and that I felt so amazing with. Suddenly, they're that person that hurt me there and that betrayed me or wasn't there for me in this moment. And that's the person that made me feel horrible at that moment. And suddenly, it just feels better. And I know it might sound wrong to some people, and it might sound kind of like, excuse me, what? But it's true. It's just one of the ways to process it, and it's one of the ways to break down that image that you created in your head. Because we as humans, and especially our memory, works in magical but weird ways. Sometimes it works against us, and sometimes when we should be remembering all the things that they did wrong and all the reasons why the end of this friendship is actually good, instead of that we remember all the wonderful things that happened between you and all the beautiful things you shared, and you just feel like crap for not having this friendship anymore. And don't get me wrong, I can look back at the first 2 friendships that were really toxic but had their good times. I can look back at them now and remember nice things and be grateful that at one moment, I did have that moment of support, or I did have that moment of happiness, and I'm able to look back at it and be grateful for it. But also I'm able to see the picture clearly, and I'm able to say, yes, I'm grateful for that moment, and yes, I'm happy that it happened, but I don't miss that friendship overall, and I don't want to go back into that friendship, and I don't feel the urge to message that person and be like, how are you? Because I know that with good came the bad, and I'm over it now. But if I just only focused on the good, even at the moment when those people were leaving my life, I don't think if I would have been able to look clearly at it now. I don't know if I would still be in those, rose-tinted glasses looking at that old toxic friendship through, oh my God, maybe I should message them and maybe I should reach out and know how they are. No, you know what? I don't want to do that. I unfollowed both of them on Instagram like 10 years after we stopped being friends. Unfollowed them on Instagram. 10 years after we stopped being friends sounds like we stopped being friends when I was 8, which is not really, but like around 5 years after we stopped being friends. I unfollowed them on Instagram. I don't feel guilty for doing that. And I just feel better with the person that this friendship breakup happened with recently. I still miss them. And each time I do, I try to remind myself of all the bad that was, because it's still pretty fresh and I am going through that. But also, I just want to say it's okay to feel bad and it's okay to feel sad about it. It's okay to feel like something is just not right, like something that's it's just not good, because especially when it's a toxic friendship, a lot of people feel guilty for feeling bad, and a lot of people sometimes are also made guilty for feeling bad. Like a lot of my friends, in trying to support me, would be like, oh, but he was horrible, like, oh, why are you even missing him? Like, oh, why are you even sad? Like, you shouldn't be sad, or stop feeling sad, he was bad, or stop feeling whatever, so stop being upset, just be happy that it's over, he hurt you and stuff, just be okay. But there's no way for you to be okay if there is sadness deep down. That's how the feelings are. They have to be felt. That is it. When you're watching a comedy show, and that's us as humans, we are more willing to let ourselves feel the good emotions rather than the bad ones. When you want to laugh, when you want to smile, you let yourself do that. Imagine if you didn't let yourself feel happy. Imagine if you were starting to feel happy and then you were like, no, not today, and just push it down. That sounds very stupid to do, doesn't it? And that sounds very kind of unnatural and very like, why would I do that? But we do the same thing with sadness every single day, and we shouldn't, because it just bottles it up and it makes it worse. Trust me, this is one of the stuff my therapist told me. She was basically saying that the reason why it's been a couple of months and you still feel horrible about it is because when it happened, you didn't let yourself feel all the emotions, and so now you've been pushing it down. And imagine like a glass of water, right? And you're pouring this water into the glass, and one day it's just going to overflow. So instead of letting your emotions, just feel them and let them go, we bottle them up. And of course, at one point, there's just going to be so much that your body is just not going to be able to handle it. And right now, if I think about this friend and our relationship for a bit too long, I'm gonna start crying. I'm getting choked up right now. I hope you can't hear it, because I'm, at this moment, it's not the best time for me to feel these emotions, which is kind of hypocritical of me saying that, feel through your emotions and me pushing it down right now. But I'm gonna do it after I finish recording. I promise. But just being sad is okay. Being sad is natural. Being sad is a process of you getting better. You're not going to get better if you don't let yourself feel what you want to feel. If you want to feel sad, feel sad. If you need to put on a movie or a song or whatever, maybe talk to someone in order to fully feel through that, do that. If you want to just sit in the room alone and just completely dissolve in that feeling and let it overcome you and just let it happen and then pass, do that. If you feel angry, you're allowed to feel angry. You're allowed to feel angry for any reason that it might be. You're allowed to feel angry because you just lost a friend. You're allowed to feel angry because maybe that toxic relationship went on for too long and you can't believe that you let yourself be in this relationship for too long. You might feel angry for any other reason on this planet. You're allowed to feel angry. However you want to let this out. If you want to go and, go to a party and dance it out, do it. If you want to go to a kickboxing or a boxing class, do it. If you want to sit in your room and just stare at the wall angrily and feel it this way, do it. If you want to go and scream, in the nature or just scream, do it. These are the feelings that you are allowed to feel. If you feel happy, because I also don't think that's the thing people talk about. If you feel happy, let yourself be happy. You don't have to feel guilty for letting yourself be happy. Even if this happiness feels a little out of place, if it feels weird, if it feels like, what? It's all right. It's all right to feel this way, and it's fine. You are allowed to feel the way you're feeling. Every single feeling you feel is valid. So let's conclude or summarize today's episode, because I feel like there was so much rambling that we just have to do it. Breaking up with friends, whether toxic friends or good friends that you just might not be walking down the same road anymore, is okay. It's natural and it's fine, but it does come with consequences for you and for the way you feel. What you need at this time is support, whether you find it in people or in hobbies or just in actions or in anything, maybe a TV show, I don't know. You need support. Don't be afraid to reach out for that support, because it's completely valid, and it's completely valid that you need it. You have to understand that what you lost is something that you had to lose and that you don't need. We've talked about it when it came to toxic friendships. You just lost someone that's bad, something that's bad for you. You just cured yourself of a disease. And it's okay, perhaps if it was a disease that you struggled with for a while, it's okay to maybe miss it. Because for a long time, your life was evolved around that disease, and now suddenly there's nothing. But at the same time, you have to understand that this disease, you don't want to be ill, So it's okay to feel sad that it's gone, but also don't wish for it to come back. But when it comes to good, real friends that you've lost, everything, I know, I hate this phrase too, but everything happens for a reason. Perhaps you're not being friends anymore is better for you and is better for that person. Perhaps there will be a time where you reunite, or there won't. But at this point, you don't need them and they don't need you. And you don't want to be there for someone who doesn't need you. And also you don't want to have someone in your life who doesn't care for you. The next thing is, it's okay to feel, and every single feeling is valid, and every single thing you're going through is valid, but you have to let yourself feel it. The only thing that I would suggest being very careful about feeling is guilt, because sometimes we feel guilty for things that we shouldn't feel guilty for. It's okay to feel guilty if you messed up. And it's okay to forgive yourself and move on. It's not particularly great to feel guilty for something that you either didn't do or for something that is not wrong. It's not fully healthy to feel guilty for something that's actually a positive. And this is where we should step back and realize whether we actually feel guilty and it's fine, or we are making ourselves feel guilty because we can't process something else. So just make sure that you are letting yourself feel the things that need to be felt, but you're not punishing yourself by making yourself feel things. I think that is very important. And overall, you're not alone. I just want to reiterate that message again and again. You're not alone. You have people around you who are ready to support you. There are people that are maybe not around you right now, but they are alive and they are in this world that will support you. I cannot tell you how thankful I am right now for friends that I do have in my life. I came to uni and I found a wonderful person who is there for me and who supports me and who I am so happy that I have this person instead of the person that I used to have, because I know that for now, no matter how it turns out in the future, they're a real one and they're there for me. And I just want to let you know that there are people in this world who are going to be there for you. Even if it feels like there's no one, there are people that are going to love you and they're going to want to support you and be there for you. So on this note, I just want to let you know that, again, my DMs are open. I'm here for you. And I hope this episode was helpful. I hope this episode gave you something. Maybe comfort, maybe actual advice, maybe just the feeling of being understood by someone else and knowing that someone else has gone and, to be honest, is going. I am still going through that at the moment. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this episode. All the links to where you can find or subscribe to this podcast, and also all the links to my personal things like Instagram, Twitter, my personal YouTube channel, they're all in the description box below. And I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Bye.